Okay, and we are back. Welcome everyone to the Ales and Fails Twitch stream. I'm your host, Ale Wolf, otherwise known as Ales, gentleman streamer, the excellence of an execution, the no throne cicerone. And welcome to another week. It's another Thursday, at least in my time zone. I'm sure it's Friday somewhere else. But yeah, how's it going, everyone? That's so odd. I don't think I've ever started a stream with that question. How's it going, everyone? Well, how's it going, bots? So yeah, it's it's the end of the week. It's time to start another round of streams. Very excited for this. I'm starting just a few minutes early as opposed to starting just a few minutes late, and that's simply because I know that I'll actually have to bail just a bit early today. But with that out of the way, we're actually playing Radical Streamers today, which was a Super Nintendo game originally only released for Japan, for the Super Famicom, with their Bantella Satellaview add-on for the Super Nintendo. There's a lot of history behind that. Radical Dreamers is the game that came after Chrono Trigger, and it kind of inspired Chrono Cross, and so it's kind of like I want to say it's not really a prequel per se. At this point, it's kind of taken into canon as part of like an alternative dimension to what happened in the events of Chrono Cross. Yeah, but it's a delightful game. One thing that sets it apart from every single other entry of the Chrono Trigger franchise is the fact that it is a text adventure, and there's hardware limitations that are involved in that. But not only is it a text adventure, it's a text-heavy adventure. Unlike other games that I've played in the genre, this is, I want to say, like 90% text. So it's a lot of reading involved. If you caught my stream last week where I was playing Super Metroid, you heard me say, you know what, I probably should have been playing Radical Dreamers then, but I had a cold. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when I have a cold, my voice can't sustain a lot of reading, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to be reading a lot. We're going to have some fun. At this point, I've actually beaten the original campaign to Radical Dreamers, so what we're doing right now is actually going through the rest of the endings and kind of just put a nice bow on this adventure. I'm following a strategy guide, so curse me for that if you must. I kind of just want to experience the story, and I kind of just want to think about the story beats. I don't really need to like guess my way through the endings, because if I'm gonna do that, then you know what, it's gonna take us all night, and we really don't have that much time. But that's what we're doing today. Let's go ahead and talk about what's on tap today. And this one is a classic, I want to say. I've certainly had it before on stream. This one is called Retreat, and this is a hazy double IPA by Offshoot Beer Company. You know, I used to think that this was a standalone craft brewery, but I guess it's also owned by the brewery, which is one of the beer manufacturers. I don't know if I guess they're kind of still a craft brewery, but they are certainly one of the larger craft breweries that I've seen emerge in a while, and they have a lot of different beer lines that almost make it seem like it's not made by the brewery. I don't know if Offshoot started off on its own and then it got bought by the brewery, but you know what, it doesn't matter. Point of the matter is, I really like this hazy IPA, and it's a double IPA. There's a lot of to unpack there. You're like, well, what exactly is this hazy double IPA you're talking about? I've never heard of this. I know that there's a lot of West Coast IPAs that are incredibly bitter. I don't want anything to do with that. Get it away from me. And to that I say, hey, relax. Before you put up the restraining order, hazy IPAs are not the same thing as standard IPA. Standard IPAs are very bitter heavy, and the reason that they are very bitter heavy is because they have a lot of hop content, and the hops are actually employed during the brewing process, during the boiling process specifically, which makes it so that the hops themselves actually release a lot of the bittering agents into the brew. And I'm sure you've seen things like stuff from Dogfish Head where they have like 60-minute and 90-minute and 120-minute beers That's how long I'm assuming the vat itself is brewing with all those hops, which makes them incredibly bitter. I hate that stuff. It's not really my thing. I'm glad that there's people out there that enjoy it, and certainly please enjoy your drinks. But I don't like to drink Pine Sol. Shade. Hazy IPAs, on the other hand, are use hops a little differently. They actually throw them during the fermentation process. So this is past the boiling stage, or at least most of the hops are actually used during the fermentation process, not too much during the boil. And what this allows the hops to do is it allows them to bestow upon the wort more aromatic flavors, certainly tropical notes into the beer, certainly more floral things, and it also gives the beer a very strong aroma. And so they're a delight to sense in an olfactory sense. I don't know why I said it that way. They're very floral. A lot of them are very tropical, and a lot of them really taste like juice. I feel like maybe for the past 5 years, maybe more than that, hazy IPAs have been taking over a lot of craft breweries. You'll walk into a craft brewery and you'll see a lot of hazy IPAs because they're relatively approachable. People like them, and you can certainly do a lot of different things with them. And so I feel like a lot of my craft beer loving friends, what? Seems like that cough is not totally gone. They don't appreciate the fact that they are mass producing a lot of them. I'm okay with it as long as there's some variety out there, and I do enjoy my hazy IPAs. So that's a lot of hazy IPA nonsense. Let's go ahead and see what Untappd has to say in terms of this particular beer. I'm gonna go into my alternate here. Okay, so Retreat. This is a hazy double IPA. This hazy double IPA is brewed with a simple malt bill and heavily hopped with fruit-forward Mosaic, Cashmere, and Eldorado. Those are hop names. Laced with delicate and aromatic tropical notes, along with a bright berry medley and a crisp mouthfeel. It's like diving into the Pacific on a 90-degree day. Seriously, nothing beats the heat like Retreat. I like the fact that they had to make that last line rhyme. It's actually quite a nice touch. I like it. I approve, Offshoot. You have won me over. But with that, let's go ahead and taste it. And like I said, I'm not unfamiliar with this taste, but of course, every single helping of anything you ever taste is always going to be different because you're always a different person on any given day. And let me go ahead and open this can. And just before I open this can, it's actually a swimmer, and there's a giant jellyfish underneath them. I'm assuming that they are doing a mock of the shark, the Jaws movie poster. I don't know why I called it shark. It's a shark, of course. And let's go ahead and open this. So it's already got an orange golden glow to it. Okay, and just making sure that I'm not spilling anything here and I'm not losing anything. So as you can see, it's definitely got a more of an orange character than anything else. I've got it on my, I like to think that this is a Pilsner glass, but it's more like a Pilsner / Hefeweizen glass. I feel like when they created this specific glass, they didn't actually make up their minds fully about it. But that's okay, I like it. But before we do that, take a whiff. And so very strong notes of fruit. I want to say fruit peel is the more apparent smell here. Maybe like a mango peel is what I feel here. Bang a nail, dear viewer. Very rich, very frothy. Another thing about hazy IPAs is just the fact that they are largely unfiltered, which means that after the fermentation process, they don't necessarily go extensively through filtering to remove any of the yeast of other compounds, which gives their texture a slightly thicker presence. They're certainly mid to heavy body beers, and again, that adds to the character that they taste very much like juice. I taste tangerines. I taste oranges, which is quite delicious. And very much some good notes of mango. I want to say maybe on the sweeter side, you could actually taste some peach. Some slightly bittering notes at the end, but nothing for me to call out something like, oh, this is grapefruity or something like that, which is generally how I characterize hazy IPAs if I think that they are too bitter. So this is delicious. I like it. This should hold us out for our adventure. So with that, let's go ahead and I'm going to update my ticker. I'm going to enter my untapped entry. And on the other side of this break, we will go ahead and play some Radical Dreamers. Stay tuned, friends. Alright, and we are back. Let me go ahead and pull up the volume on this guy. So this is Radical Dreamers. This is the intro, which is a very lovely intro. I like it very much. I also went ahead and posted the question of the night. Do you like to get every ending for a game? This is one of the first games, I guess one of the first games after Chrono Trigger, of course, that boasted multiple endings. Is there a point to that? Do you find enjoyment in that? Is that a completionist adventure that you yourself seek? I sometimes do. I like to think I do, but only for games that mean something to me. So, oh yes, one more thing that I needed to do is pull up the map. We must always have a map. One of the interesting things about Radical Dreamers is just the fact that it is a text adventure without a proper map. And so people obviously have created maps for it. so that they don't get lost while navigating the location. Let me go ahead and pin it right here. I'm sure that several times during the night I'm going to go ahead and make it disappear, but let's try and keep it there so that I don't get lost every time. And like I said, I'm also following a guide to try and get every single ending. I think I got the main ending, which was Kid, the hidden treasure, then Magill falling in love. Let's see. And to be perfectly honest with you, now I don't know which one I should pick. So 327, 427. What would suggest 401? I wonder how you would be able to see which of these actually has the ending that you are looking for. Let's pick the one with the Rudolph. That seems nifty. We went down the stairs and took the passage to our right. Eventually we came across... You know what, actually, let me not do this. Let me go ahead and do a new game, since what we're actually trying to do is get every ending. Let's end the game there, and let's go look for the Great Space Chase, which is, I think, where we need to go next. I certainly hope that this is the way that I actually get to the other endings. I don't think I'm supposed to pick... Well, we'll see what happens. So in order to get the Great Space Chase, after falling asleep, rush after Kid and Magill. Then inspect the paintings at the study. Afterwards, proceed to the treasure vault, the clock tower room. Then head back to the terrace and take the stairs next to the ballroom and study. Okay. So, rush after Kid. Okay. The old lady's tip-off was right on the money. The counterspell on the barrier around the outer walls could have done a real number on us. Okay, so that was Kid. Kid's plain, unadorned braid flicked back and forth across her shoulders as she walked. We picked our way through the elaborate lattice of Manor's magic shields, moving in closer and closer to Lord Lynx's stronghold. There were 3 of us, Kid, Magill, and me. I guess it must have been 3 years already since I first met Kid. Back then, I was just a wandering musician, traveling wherever my feet would take me, and wherever a few tunes would pay for a warm bed. It was in the outlands in a town called Regiora, where we first ran across one another. And since then, she dragged me along on a whole bunch of adventures, and misadventures too. Ah, Kid. She was a thief. And not just any thief, just a few months shy of 17, and already renowned as one of the realm's greatest. What's more, she was achingly beautiful, stylish, a joy to be around, and a dab hand at campsite cooking. Or so she liked to claim. The truth was a little different. Those bandits with hearts of gold you've heard about in stories, the ones who steal from the rich to give to the poor, yeah, that wasn't Kid's style. She was short-tempered, prone to lying, bossy, and obsessed with money, and rarely did she care to listen to a single word anyone said to her. But she wasn't all bad, probably, maybe, sometimes. She had her moments anyways. I glanced over my shoulders to see a shadow hovering behind us, blending into darkness like smoke. Magill, also known as Magill the Shade, he was Kid's partner, but even after 3 years I still knew hardly anything about him. All I knew was that he was around 30 years old and not much of a talker, but he was one heck of a mage. I heard that he and Kid had started working together way before I met her. He always covered the top half of his face with a mask, and I'd never seen what he looked like underneath. He was a man so mysterious that it sometimes seemed like he was an interloper from another world. It wasn't like Kid was exactly big on details about her past, but Magil? He might as well not have had one. And Kid didn't seem to know much about her partner in crime either. What kind of man he was, what kind of life he'd lived before, nothing. You might ask exactly how I wound up being a part of this merry band. Well, it's complicated. I guess you could say that life doesn't always turn out the way you think it will. Kid, who was heading up our little raiding party, suddenly stopped dead. Look lively, boys. We've got company. We glanced around warily as cold, cruel eyes emerged from the darkness. I heard a low growl. Dark shadows prowled through the night, surrounding us. A pack of wildcats. There must have been about 10 of them. A thrill of fear ran down my spine. Flustered, I pulled my knife from my belt. Kith calmly shifted into a fighting stance. Watch yourselves. I don't reckon these buggers have been treated for rabies. The wildcats snarled and growled as they slowly closed in on us, drawing the noose tighter and tighter. I'm starting to think that I am completely starting de novo, which is probably not a good thing. I think there should be a better way to choose a new game plus. Let me see. Let me pull up the game menu. Let's end this game. That certainly gave us some introspection, but I believe... I wonder if it just didn't save last time I did this. This would be simpler if there was some way to actually tell me where exactly I stopped last. What if I... That's not helping anything. Let's just choose this guy. Maybe if I commit suicide, as they say. Something smelled... Okay. I guess let's continue this, whatever it is. I have no idea where we are. We went down the stairs, then took the passage to our right. Eventually, we came across an ornate door on the right-hand side. Something smelled fresh and pleasant. Flowers? Was it coming from the inside? Let's go inside. We found ourselves in a tidy, welcoming room. The knickknacks and curios dotted around the place seemed to be well loved. The stately desk and the cozy-looking bed nearby, meanwhile, suggested the room's occupants was no stranger to luxury. Is there someone there? A woman's voice. We immediately hid ourselves. The woman appeared from deeper within the room. She was lightly made up and had a gentle, unthreatening air about her. It was Lynx's daughter. Strange, I'm sure I heard someone. Luckily, she seemed not to have noticed us. I stilled my breath, watching from the darkness, and then I saw it. The shadows began to flicker and shake. Was it Magil? It was. He seemed to step out of thin air. Riddell was stunned at the sudden appearance of a strange man in her room. We couldn't let her panic and call for help. I had to think of something to reassure her fast. Let's be friendly thieves. Evening, ma'am. Don't mind us. We're just some friendly neighborhood thieves. I had to convince her we were the nice kind of thieves, not the kind that would leave her in a cupboard with a black eye while we made off with all our valuables. Well, to tell the truth, we are thieves. I've come to steal your heart, milady. Where did that come from? I was making a complete fool of myself. Where did that come from? That's the creepiest chat-up line I've ever heard in me life, said Kid aghast. Alright, why don't you introduce us then? Fine. I'm Kid, the gentlewoman thief. Stand and deliver. We were really making a mess of this. The more we babbled, the whiter Riddell's face grew. Who are you people? She was terrified. Magill eyed her compassionately and spoke in a gentle, reassuring tone. I'd never heard him use before. I'm sorry that we startled you. We mean you no harm. Please, remain calm. But his words had no effect. Riddell raised her voice. Thieves! Burglars! Stay away! She was about to scream for help. We had to do something. I don't want to knock her out. Let's just gag her. I yanked her sheets from her bed. Kid nodded. Good thinking. A gag's not gonna be enough. We need to wrap her up good and shove her in a cupboard. But before I could move a muscle, Magill had snatched the sheets from my hands with a menacing look. What? But if you're not, then who are you? Magill's intervention had saved Riddell from an uncomfortable predicament, but it hadn't left her any less confused. He looked away, seemingly unable to bring himself to reply. What are you playing at, Mag? You trying to get us caught? Kid spoke in a low growl, staring daggers at Magill. His shoulders slumped, and then he took a deep breath and turned to Riddell. You know, I think what's happening here is we're actually repeating the Magill love folly elopement ending. I guess we'll just have to run through it so that we can continue on this save file that is the one that is allowing us to do the New Game Plus options. And then he took a deep breath and turned to Riddell. Riddell, you had a best friend as a child, yes? A young boy. I think that just confirmed my guess. She stared at him, lost in thought, and then her face came alive with recognition. It can't be Gilbert? What? You know each other? yelled Kid in surprise despite herself. Oh, Gil, it really is you. It's been so long. Riddell tenderly grasped Magill's hand. And the moment she did so, something in the shadows surrounding him changed. It was all so sudden. I've always wondered what became of you. I always worried for your sake. His voice was tender and filled with emotion. Unnerved by the sudden change in him, Kid butted in. Oi, Mag! We're here for the Frozen Flame, remember? Or is that just your nickname for this old flame of yours? The Frozen Flame? Gasped Riddell. It's true, that was my goal, until I found you. This was not the Magill I knew. A sense of foreboding came over me, and I looked over at Kid. She looked back, seemingly feeling the same way. We turned to Magill again, in silence. Our having met tonight is no less than destiny. Fate has brought us together once more. His words became increasingly passionate, making him almost unrecognizable. What a sweetheart. I started to feel like I might be losing my marbles. I couldn't keep up with his sudden transformation. Kid was shaking her head in disbelief, equally baffled by the scene unfolding before us. But Magill's strange behavior only escalated, testing our connection with reality even further. Ever since I was a child, I have thought only of you. Oh, that was Magill, he said, offering Riddell his hand. She batted it away. Wait, no, what are you doing? This is all so sudden. I promised you, Riddell. Did I not vow that one day we would be wed? Magill was trembling with emotion. Riddell averted her gaze and looked down at the floor. I wondered if she maybe didn't feel the same way. It was all so long ago. Just wait a moment, will you? She pleaded, shaking her head. Do you no longer like me? Came Magill's timid reply. That's not what I mean, Gil. It's just appearing out of nowhere and asking like that, it's... Did our promise mean nothing to you? Riddell was clearly a little taken aback by Magill's ardor. She replied in a somewhat pained voice. You haven't changed. You never once stopped to think about how I might feel, have you? When I baked you cookies for your first birthday, you gave them all away. At the village fair, you wouldn't dance with me, and these seem like pretty petty things for a noble woman to hold a grudge about. You misunderstand. I only wanted to show off what a wonderful gift you had given me. And as for the village fair, I was simply too ashamed of my dancing. Magel defended his decades-old actions, as if he had been charged with a crime punishable by death. You came here unannounced with your excuses and expect me to forgive you now, after all these years. Riddell was clearly in turmoil. Her eyes, the long eyelashes, glistened with tears. Did you really think you could just show up and start confessing your love and demanding to marry me? Is that how you think ladies like to be treated? Kid put a hand on Riddell's shoulder and turned her gaze on Magel. Look, Mag, mate, I get it. You two made a promise, and you've stayed true to it all these years. But seriously, she said with a disapproving frown. She didn't need to say the rest. It was clear she thought this was no way to go about wooing once intended. Luckily, before they could go any further, a middle-aged woman's voice drifted to us from deeper within Riddell's chambers. Lady Riddell, is something the matter? I heard a commotion and came running. Riddell's maid entered the room, and the color drained from her face as she laid eyes on us. Ah, milady! Riddell rushed to calm her handmaid before things got even more out of hand. Noella, don't panic. It's only Gilbert. You remember him, don't you? As soon as she heard his name, her entire attitude changed. The look of horror on her face slowly melted into a smile, and she stepped closer to Magel, as one would to greet a dear old friend. Why, Master Gilbert, what a fine young figure of a man you've become. Give me strength. Oh, give me strength. Kid slumped to the floor, clutching her head in her hands. I mean, I certainly can relate to her. She's essentially just walked into a soap opera. Magel, meanwhile, exchanged polite pleasantries with the maid as if nothing could have been more normal. What the heck was he thinking? You're not planning on sending us out, are you? Oh, that's me. I only muttered my thoughts under my breath, but Kid heard me anyways. You better bloody not be. Oi, Magil, what the heck do you think you're playing at? We don't have time for this, said Kid, snapping out of her brown study. The maid had barely noticed Kid until now. She took one look at her, and her face turned as white as a sheet. Who is this unseemly girl? You must forgive my rudeness, Miss Noella. Allow me to introduce my two colleagues, Kid and Serge, he purred without missing a beat. Oh, goodness, then it's me who's been rude. I hope you can forgive me. I'm Noella, Lady Riddell's personal maidservant. Nice to meet you. Kid and I bowed awkwardly, immediately cursing ourselves for playing along with this farce. Okay. I've known Master Gilbert here since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. Why, I remember the time he... She seemed to very much enjoy filling us in on every last detail of Magel's childhood. This is a very awkward conversation reunion. Let me place this camera just a bit. There. We couldn't get a word in edgewise as she chattered on. Oh yes, they were like peas in a pod, these two. They were forever running off to play together in some secret corner or other. Why, No offense, lady, but we really don't have time to be... But Noella cut Kid dead with a look that said this next part was important. Why, I'll never forget them coming back after making their little promise to one another in the flower garden. Yes, it was a beautiful sunny day and summer was in full bloom, and the little dears swore to spend the rest of their lives together. With a rapt look in her eyes, Noella continued. And everyone's known ever since then that Lady Riddell's heart belongs to Master Gilbert and no other. Riddell only looked glum. Yes, Noella, because you insist on telling them, which is why I've never received so much as a single offer of marriage. Magel's eyes shone with delight. Kid, who had been crossing her arms on the sidelines, had just lost her patience. She turned to the group, glaring. Listen here, you old bag of bones. I'm the Master Thief Kid, and I came here tonight too. But before she could finish, Noella had cut right back in. Oh, Noella. You came here tonight to steal off with Lady Riddell, didn't you, you rascals? Goodness, I should put you over my knee and teach you all a lesson. Tee-hee. That's not right. What? No, just shut up, you interfering old bag. I couldn't give a monkey's about your precious Lady Bloody Riddell. Now shut your trap and butt out, will ya? The two glared ferociously at one another, while Magil did his best to defuse the situation. It's all right, Noella. She'll be safe with us. Oh, Master Gilbert. He turned to Kid. Come, we will need to move quickly. Hang on, what? Kid's eyes met Noella's again. They both realized what Magil had just said. Safe with us? What do you mean, safe with us? You mean you're actually going to run off with her? Taken aback, Magil stammered. Not exactly. But his words were drowned out by the excited yelping. An elopement. Oh, how wonderful, how romantic. I simply must let everyone know. Noelle left the room, tripping the light fantastic as she went. Am I glad she is gone. Magil, you conniving little... What about the frozen bloody flame? In a blind rage, Kid seized him by the collar. Riddell, too, seemed less than thrilled by this development, and finally lost her temper completely. I suppose she couldn't be blamed. It was a bit unfair to hold her to a promise made when she was only a child. And besides, she was the lady of the manor. She'd be leaving a comfortable life behind. I looked at her and thought, there's no way she can just leave home like that. I have absolutely no intention of leaving my home, exclaimed Riddell defiantly. Do you want me to live like a papa? What would father say? Fear not, my love. I have saved all the funds I need to pay for the wedding and to secure us a martial abode. As for the honeymoon, our guest will surely help for that. I'm glad that Magil has thought of everything. Magil turned to wink meaningfully at Kid as he uttered these words. Guests. I guess at least you were invited to the wedding. And I do love weddings. Ailes does love a good wedding. He'd clearly made up his mind, but since when did we agree to get roped into this? Suddenly sirens began to go off throughout the manor. That interfering old bag, this is her bloody doing. I know it, scowled Kid. In a daze, I asked Maggie what to do. We will need to move quickly. As I said, come. Riddell seemed more than a little relieved. Yes, she should probably be going. Next time you come, you can do so during the day. You can come not as a thief, but as a friend. A friend, a friend, a friend, a friend, a friend, a friend. Maggie repeated the word friend under his breath in what was almost a no, I will not give up. A clatter of footsteps came from the hallway. Quick, we need to skedaddle, said Kid. Magil picked up Riddell with a little obvious effort and slung her over her shoulder. I'm taking you with me. What, Magil? You can't be serious. Kid stopped, dead in her tracks. Put me down. Riddell struggled to break free. Stop that, we have to get out of here. Magil's feet fluttered as he rushed out of the room. Gilbert! Riddell's voice trailed off into the distance. So what do we do now, Kid? We get the bloody hell out of here, that's what. Nice boner covered good and proper. We'll have to try another time. We fled from the room as fast as our feet could carry us. I'm gonna say it right here. For a moment, the only sound in the quiet of the forest was our ragged breathing. And then the silence was shattered by an enormous explosion. An explosion of ink, the best type of explosion. We looked up to see fireworks. I gazed at them in wonder. Wait, what's that? Kid could see something else. A row of figures were waving from one of the manor's balconies. I strained my ears and realized they were cheering too. Congratulations, Lady Riddell. May you be the happy together forever. Invite us to your housewarming party when you're settled in. And then Kid pointed to the roof of the manor, a look of horror on her face. There he stood, Lynx himself, the lord of the manor, and he was crying. He's the father of the brides, bubbling like a bloody baby. We were all stupefied. I'm impressed that she can see far enough that she can see Lynx crying. Riddell, who had been crying the entire time herself, gently lifted her head. Why did you have to cause such a scene? I'm sorry, Riddell. I may have overdone things a little. With a flick of his wrist, Nigel procured a handkerchief and gently dried the tears from her cheeks. Oh, Gil, you haven't changed a bit, she giggled through the sniffles. Warm light began to appear on the horizon. Looks like the night's finally over, sighed Kid, and with no frozen flame to show for our troubles. Nigel, meanwhile, pointed to the rising sun. Look, Riddell, gaze with me upon the dawn of our new life together. Love, folly, elopement, complete once more. And we close the book on this. Did I not pin this properly? There we go. And so ends another tale. Perhaps one day I'll see Kid, Nigel, and Riddell again. One day. Somewhere. At another time. In another world. Perhaps none of us will even realize it. But that's a story for another day. I closed my grandfather's diary. And then, from downstairs, I heard my mother calling. Did you hear me? Your friend's here. I really like this part. Nimble footsteps charged up the stairs. The door flew open. In tumbled a young girl, a girl who seemed somehow familiar. Hey, sir, it's a beautiful day for adventuring. I found a rundown old manor off in the woods to the north. You want to go exploring? Come on, put the book down and let's get out of here. Get out there. Okay, so I think we're gonna roll credits right now, but I think what happened was that when I started, I actually chose the wrong save file. I was trying to treat this gameplay more of the save files more like save states, but I guess really once you finish the game, the save file that you are working on is the one that is treated as the one that has access to the new Game Plus options, which I did not assume. All right, let's go through the credits. Let's go roll some. And again, I don't want to lose this progress, so we might as well just sit through it. That was how hardcore games used to be back in the day. You needed to actually save. You had to watch all of the credits in order to actually save your progression. Yeah, that's very cool. Sorry, just real life why this particular ending is not canon per se. And I don't know, given time travel and dimension hopping, you can really say that anything in Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross is canon. It's just the fact that Magill is Magus from Chrono Trigger, and the only time he ever reached 81,000 is as an adult, so he couldn't have met Riddell as a young boy or promised her love or anything like that. There's also the fact that Riddell is not actually Lynx's daughter, from my understanding of the storyline, and so I doubt that he would have this level of approval when they get together. But this is kind of a whimsical ending. I like the cheesiness behind it. I could have done without the entirety of the how to say, just going through the maid's recognition of them and their story. That seemed like a bit much. But I guess the purpose is that we're trying to fledge out their background and give context to the idea that yes, they would run away together if given the chance. It does actually propose the question though, why would Magus wait this entire time to meet Riddell? I don't know. The question is, it's an open question. Okay, does this put us at exactly 2 endings again? Okay. So that's 2 endings right there. Let's go and try and quickly collect the third one, which again we've also already done. This is the one, Kid and the Sunflower. Actually, let's go for the Great Space Chase instead, since I don't want to completely retread old ground. I don't think you came here to see like the same exact thing over and over. Maybe we'll start with Kid and the Sunflower on the next time that we play Radical Dreamers, just to make sure that we do get that in. Les trésors interdits. So it doesn't make sense to restart here. Maybe I have to just continue. Yeah, I guess continue makes the most sense. Yes, Surge is fine. Alright, we've gone through this. I don't think we need to... We don't need to retrace this particular reading. Okay, so here's where it diverges. So in order to achieve the great space chase ending, we have to fall asleep, rush after Kid and Magill, and then inspect the paintings at the study. And I can already see that I have put away my map. It's right there. Okay. So I watched as Kid's braid flicked back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I started feeling very sleepy indeed. It's like a pendulum effect almost. And before I knew it, I was asleep. Surge! Oi, Surge, I'm talking to you! My head jerked upward as I snapped back to consciousness. Idiot that I was, I'd managed to drift off. As I came back to my senses, I looked up to see the hulking shadow of Lynx's manor looming over us. Kind of an odd time to fall asleep, by the way. Wakey, wakey, sleepyhead. We got work to do. I'm kind of just surprised, though. He's walking along. He's following behind her. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, you know, at that point, I would feel, you know what, maybe this is not, this might not be the best night to do this. Her words had hardly reached me before she jumped onto the terrace and disappeared within. Ah, wait up, kid. Flustered, I rushed after her. Okay, a corridor stretched off to the left and right from the terrace. It seemed equally dark and chill in both directions. Alright, where's our way in? Kit's casual comments settled our nerves. Magel quietly surveyed our surroundings. Meanwhile, I found myself distracted by how cold the sweat on my forehead felt. It was only when I reached to wipe the sweat from my brow and turned my head slightly that I happened to see it. A soft glimmer of light. At least, I thought that's what I saw. A gentle glow coming from a decorative window close to the ceiling. But as much as I strained my eyes to try and catch it again, I couldn't. Oi, Serge, you'd better not be sleeping on the job. We'll leave you for the guards to find. Kit and Michael were already far down the passageway. How long had I been standing there? Okay, I'm gonna rush after them. A corridor stretched off to the left and right from the terrace. It seemed equally dark and chilly in both directions. Okay. So we rush in after them. Let's make our way to the study, which means that we need to go right. Sorry, no, left. I like how I'm confusing myself just by looking at this map. We need to go left, my dear. We decided to go left down the corridor. Leading the group as usual, Kit suddenly stopped. What's that? She jabbed her finger at something in the darkness. Straining my eyes, I could see a pale white bundle of something shaking in the shadows. Huh, that's strange. I moved in front of Kit to try to get a better look. And then suddenly the strange presence started crawling across the floor toward us at an unbelievable speed. This is probably a battle. So let's get ready. I didn't have time to brace myself. The white figure reached my foot, then reared up to its full height. It was a skeleton. The skeleton and I stood face to face, its empty eye socket staring straight at me, or seeming to at least. What was I gonna do? Tackle. I charged in to tackle the skeleton. Yeah! There was a crunching sound and a pattering of bones as the skeleton was knocked back by the blow. Its body split clean in two at the waist. Better luck next time, muttered Kit dryly. As if in response to the skeleton's upper body picked itself up from the ground, turning its skull towards me, balancing its body with its left hand, and then pulled the skull from its head with its right hand. What's it doing? Before I could get the words out, it had heaved its skull at me. What was I gonna do? Dodge. Whoosh! The skull sailed past me as quickly as it stepped aside. Ow! Only to smash into Kit, who was standing right behind me. That bloody hurts. Why'd you move out of the way for? He returned the favor by thumping me in the back of the head. Michael walked over to where the skull lay on the floor and stamped on it, shattering it to pieces. The rest of the skeleton collapsed, falling apart with a clatter. It didn't move far after that. Okay, and this is where we hear the FF battle fanfare for the end. We're done here. Let's get moving. Wait a second. What's that? There was a leather bag on the ground containing a sparkling gem. Now we're talking. Kit's face lit up with joy. Nice find, Serge. What a beaut. Kit snatched it away, leaving me to settle for the compliment. Whew. I'd taken a few knocks, but I was alright. A scrape or two wouldn't stop me. Maybe you ain't such a drongo after all. It just goes to show any old weirdo can make something of themselves if they put their mind to it. Kid's eyes glinted with mischief. We took the corridor leading from the left-hand side of the terrace, eventually arriving at an intersection with some stairs. The path to the right led down the stairs. The path to the left was a dark passageway, and the main corridor continued straight onward. Let's see. So if I'm at that nexus, straight forward is the ballroom, to the right is the study, and to the left is that long hallway. And we need to get to the study. So let's. Sorry, to the left is the study. We headed down the side passage. At the end of it, we came to an old, immaculately polished door. And let's go ahead and save right here. Let's see what happens if I save here. Oh, I guess the reindeer heads actually tells you how many endings you've collected. Maybe. Maybe. Let's go inside. Kid gently pushed the door ajar and peeked into the room. The next thing I knew, she'd slipped inside. Megal and I followed. Okay, we made it. Looks like a study. The room was lit by the moonlight coming through the long, slender windows, slanting down in pale beams through the darkness. And honestly, no matter how much I drink, still. Apologies, folks. Like I said, still getting over this cold. It was pretty big for a study, with an immaculate antique desk dominating the center. There were rows of bookshelves lined with thick, dusty old tomes. The wall to the rear of the room was decorated with paintings, and shelves of vases and painted plates stood before it. They all seemed to be curious from foreign lands. And we're supposed to check the paintings. I stood in front of one particularly prominent painting on the wall and examined it closely in the pale moonlight that shone through the window. It was an oil painting depicting a strange scene, the likes of which I had never seen before. It showed an endless red desert stretching to the horizon. Above it hung a deep orange sky, presiding over a range of impossibly tall mountains. And though it didn't seem to be night, I could see the stars. Were those stars? What was this landscape? It seemed completely out of this world, and the longer I looked at it, the more I experienced a strange sense of sadness. I mean, it could be Zangler Marsh from the Burning Crusade. I felt like a lone fugitive in a foreign land. I realized then that Megal was standing behind me. Oh, sorry, Mag. I spaced out there for a moment. I was gonna say I spazzed out. That doesn't make any sense. Who spazzes out? For a moment, I took Megal's piercing gaze as criticism for becoming so absorbed in a painting while we were deep in enemy territory. I was wrong. He stayed exactly where he was, his gaze fixed, even after I stepped away. I never had much of an idea what Megal was thinking, and tonight had been no different, until now. Suddenly, I saw the contents of his mind laid bare, as if I'd opened up his head and peered inside. A fire burned within him. Whoa, that's a new. It was as if Maxwell's demon had given him a free pass on the second law of thermodynamics. No. It was as if all the free helium and hydrogen atoms around us had suddenly undergone thermonuclear fusion, and the resultant neutrinos could be observed boiling in a glass of water. That's how much he was on fire. I think he's gonna report some library grants. His expression was at least blank as it had ever been, but whatever flowed beneath it had clearly caused a massive jump in temperature. Serge, if anything happens to me, I want you to take... Oh, wait. Serge, if anything happens to me, I want you to take care of Kid. What the hell is that supposed to mean? The question never reached my lips. The answer was clear enough. Sometimes the fire runs through a man's veins, and all he can do is launch into an epic battle. He might not come back from it. I finally found you. He was still staring at the painting. His gaze was so piercing, it could have shot and one of the first appearances of an emoji in a game. And on that bombshell, we decided to leave the study. Yeah, that was a strange episode. So he got all worked up over a painting from a very unusual location. Uh, Serge seemed to be kind of getting in on it as well, and Kid kind of just brought us back to reality. We made our way back down the dark side passage leading from the study. Eventually, we arrived back at the intersection. Some stairs led downward, and the corridor branched left and right, with the right branch leading back to the terrace. Okay, so let's see. Then we have to proceed to the treasure vault, which is all the way towards the terrace. And for anyone wondering, we're still enjoying a delicious retreat, a hazy double IPA. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. Let's keep going. A short way along the corridor, running from the right hand side of the terrace, we found an ancient looking door, again on our right. And this is the clock tower. We're gonna go past it. Yeah, better see what's at the end of this corridor first. Kid left the door alone and continued on down the corridor. We returned to creeping down the darkened hallway as silently as we could. Continuing on down the corridor, we came across a rather sturdy looking door on our left. A little further on stood a doorway leading upward. Well, this door's clearly meant to keep something safe. If there ain't some kind of treasure behind it, me name ain't Kid. Sniff, sniff. Yup, that's the smell of cold, hard cash. All right. Cold, hard cash, all right, she muttered to herself as she began to inspect the door more closely. Let me go ahead and save right here. Let's go inside. Whoosh. Okay, maybe whoosh was an understatement. The moment Magdal's glowing hand touched the door handle, it and most of the door immediately disappeared, as if he just popped the filmy substance of a soap bubble. Strike a light. If you could do that this whole bloody time, why didn't you do it sooner? Kid pouted grumpily as she slipped through the hole and into the vault. I made to follow after her. The edges of the huge hole Maggle had made in the door were smooth and clean, as if it had been made with an impossibly sharp blade, and it had left not a single speck of debris on the ground. Before you ask, I have no idea where it all went, said Maggie, as if reading my mind. I braced my hands on either side of the opening and followed after Kid. As I entered, she moved further into the room. Get a load of this! As our eyes grew accustomed to the darkness, we saw that we were surrounded by priceless treasures and works of art. Okay, let's assume this is Magil. That's a statue of the hero Kaful from planet Tarast. And there, a stuffed Saturnian Dermophos, a grey lens, a Tachkaso, Trifid, a Life Maker nameplate, some Klendathu royal jelly, an angel crystal, and that one that resembles a gravestone crossed with a Swiss army knife is a Zolan blue stone. That's a lot of alien artifacts. I think I only recognize Klendathu from Starship Troopers, maybe? Geez, Mag, how many people are even going to get all those references? I started to feel dizzy. If you have any complaints about how we've handled the source material, you can... You can send them right here, said Kit cheerfully, with a forced grin. Is she breaking the fourth wall there? She was addressing the camera directly pointing at her butt. Okay. Kid, look at the monitor. The subtitles are in the wrong order. Frustrated, Magil turned down the fader for his microphone before sighing incredulously. I think we're in a movie set. I think we just entered a movie. I realized then that I could hear the director berating the vision mixer near the relay van. What? Great, now they've got an excuse to cut our pay. As I stood there sinking into despair, Kid came and shook my shoulder. And then I noticed a red glow like a heat haze coming from something standing between the sheet of Ebionite that the increasingly flustered floor director seemed to have knocked over, and the Clare Bible. The frozen flame, I whispered, then gulped. There, on a pedestal that looked like it would be pretty difficult to make a 3D model of, floated a jewel that looked like it would be pretty easy to render in a few simple polygons, gently turning and giving off a red glow. I like how meta this ending has become. Stop, it's too dangerous. Oh, stop, it's too dangerous. Kid had reached out for the frozen flame, only for Magil to grab her wrist with his glowing hand. I guess I was right the first time. The red jewel instantly vanished into thin air. I think the only thing in here that's dangerous is your door-popping magic hand, Mag. Kid sat back while Magil proceeded to use said hand to hack away at the pedestal. It was hollow, and inside it was the assistant director. He was using one hand to turn the device that made the frozen flame rotate, and the other to flick the switch of a flashlight covered with a transparent red plastic sheet. He looked at us sheepishly. So this is how the frozen flame rotation actually works. Somebody's just turning a hand crank and flashing a red light to it. The tally lights of the cameras hadn't followed us, so he didn't try to make a run for it. So this frozen flame is merely a prop for these people to use? Michael made his pronouncement in a significant sounding voice. Kid was already distracted by something else. Oi, you sneaky little rat. Where's the real frozen flame? Leave him, Kid. A lowly assistant director wouldn't know the first thing about something so important. The man gave Kid an impotent, sycophantic smile, which he responded to by seizing him by the scruff of the neck. Nagel quickly intervened to separate the two. With a cry of, "Thanks guys, see you tomorrow," the assistant director fled the scene. The real flame must be somewhere else. No, that was Magil. Magil trying to sound authoritative while awkwardly holding up the side of the prop he'd ruined. I should warn you, Kid, it's likely to be very different from what you're expecting. We left the room thanking each and every one of the gods that all of the ridiculous business with the film crew was finally over. Maybe it was just that this particular room in the manor was a movie set, or yeah, that's as best as just a movie set. Somebody was filming. And then we have to go to the clock tower room. The corridor outside the room stretched off to the left and right. The path to the right led to the terrace. Let's go towards the terrace since that's where we came from. We continued down the corridor, eventually coming across a door on our left. The corridor continued on back towards the terrace. Just a second here, folks. Okay. And there's our door. In we go. Kid stilled her breath and reached for the handle. The door wasn't locked, it swung slowly open. What's this room supposed to be? Place is a dump. Kid had poked her head in through the door, taking a quick peek to see if there was anyone inside, and was disappointed by what she found. The clock tower it is. The room was large and littered with peculiar-looking machinery and knickknacks, all of which were covered in dust, and had seemingly been dumped there haphazardly. Everything looked like it had been there for rusting for a very long time. The ends of the room were completely dark, and it was impossible to tell just how big it was, or even what the walls and floor looked like. It seemed like the manor's inhabitants had turned the old clock tower into a makeshift storage space some time ago. I stepped warily inside. I didn't know what the sensation was at first. The further I went into the room, the more I felt the pit, felt uneasiness. What's that sound? I didn't notice at first. What a strange sound it was. It was a low, intermittent hum, just quiet enough, but I wasn't sure if I was hearing it or feeling it, and it was coming from over there. It was cold, flat, feeling, like anything I'd heard before. Kit seemed fascinated by its strangeness. She ventured further and further into the room. Over here! She gone all the way to the back of the room, back to where there was no light from the hallway, only movement from the window. But it wasn't entirely clear. Was this? There were little lights, fireflies, blinking on and off. This looks like a backdrop from a shooting Metroid. But unlike fireflies, these weren't just green ones. There were red, blue, and orange ones, and all the other colors. All the colors of the rainbow. I'm not sure how to explain the thing that all the lights were stuck to. Compared to the rusty pieces of junk closer to the door, it had an otherworldliness that gave me goosebumps. Unless it's become like a space technology. As my eyes grew really used to the light, I saw there were other similar objects in the room. They stretched from the floor to the ceiling. It was as if the entire back half of the room was one gigantic machine. What's the latest doing with all this stuff, I wondered. And then I remembered the uncanny feeling I had when I saw the painting in the study. I didn't want to admit it, but this feeling was similar. I couldn't put my finger on how. It was the same lazy intensity that had taken hold of Maggie when he saw it. I still had it. Now that I mention it. Oi, Serge, what are you still doing over there? We found someone. I hadn't noticed that I'd been left all alone in the middle of the streets of attractions. I hurried over to Kid and Maggie. Kid had found something that looked like another gigantic box. This one was just slightly taller than Maggie. There was a set of double doors on the front of it. Booger, sorry, false alarm. It's just a bloody fridge. She was right. It did look like one. Which begged the question of why she'd called me when she was excited. Kid, you can't just say fridge. They haven't been invented yet. Okay. Snapped Maggie, cutting me off entirely. Beat me to it. Ha! Fine. Let's just ignore it. It ain't worth much anyway. She gave me the derisory kick and turned away. I guess I didn't need to read that. The bombs, he got up on both legs. At the same time, possibly powerful looking arms emerged from both sides of the box, and then a cuboid head popped out from the top. It had two big long eyes and a gigantic mouth, with what appeared to be a row of clenched teeth. On top of the head was a ribbon-shaped parabolic antenna that spun steadily around and round. Ha 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 ha. Let's go, Amanda. Ha 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 ha. He fell onto the floor, laughing at how utterly anachronistic this new arrival was. And to think we've been worried about fridges not having been invented yet. Seemingly offended, the fox-like machine, okay, robot, flung open all the doors on his chest, revealing two thick, menacing-looking cylinders. Okay, they were Gatling guns. Each was flanked by a set of reindeer, now in patterned colors. Sorry for the let's see do some guns here. Aha, the limited edition Mars Marauder, my nemesis of so many Christmases ago. I know your weakness all too well, old friend. Maggie leapt up high, touching the ceiling, then struck with a blow that could have crushed boulders. With a single strike, the battery compartment holds two size C batteries. Those are whenever you use C batteries, you know you mean business. On the robot's back was shattered. Are you all right? Came his dulcet tones as he landed gracefully. He was, of course, still burning up on the inside. So this was his eternal enemy that he was looking for that painting. He was, of course, oh, ho, 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 I think I've literally split my sides. Kate was crouched on the ground, clutching her stomach, and still giggling. She didn't seem hurt. I was also fine, by the way. It doesn't look like there's anything left for us here. Let's look elsewhere. Michael stopped mid-sentence and answered. He walked over to the robot's remains, plucked the curious white object from within them, and stuffed it into his pocket. What was that? Oh, just something that might come in handy. I had no idea what he was talking about. Well, shall we? Michael seemed suspiciously cheerful, but I decided to leave it for now. Yet, I couldn't help but wonder. What was that strange mechanical doll? Yeah, I know it was a robot, but can we try to play along with this whole sort of blackberry thing for just 1 minute? I think when we looked at that painting, this whole thing switched. What had it been doing in Link's manner? What had Maggie called it? What was going on with it exactly? There was something different about him. I'd never seen him cheerful before, let alone incandescent, which he still very much was, by the way. It was probably a bit late to ask, but just who was he, really? And what was his connection with Lynx? Pulled along by these frankly paper-thin mysteries, the story charged inexorably toward its inevitable conclusion, like a train whose driver had made a quick exit from the window. If you want to reset and play a different scenario, now's your chance. Who is saying that? Okay, door led back into the corridor, which stretched off to the left and right. Rightward lay the depths of the manor, while the way to our left led back to the terrace. Okay, so in order to achieve this ending, we actually have to head to the terrace and take the stairs to the next to the ballroom and study. Head back to the terrace. After a short walk down the corridor, the terrace came into view. We kept following the corridor. Does this mean we actually have to go into the terrace? Let's try to see what happens if we go out the terrace. We returned to the quiet terrace overlooking the garden. I don't think I ever stepped back out to the terrace thus far. And then, let's say I talked to Maggie. You seem to be coping better than expected, kid. Serge. Told you before we left, you can count on me. I might have taken a few knocks, but I was alright. Nothing that would get the better of me anytime soon. Right. Dust yourself off and let's get moving. We've got work to do. Oh, right. Dust yourself off and let's get moving. We've got work to do, said Kid. Well, she said that, but... Okay, let's go back into the manor. So, we need to go to the stairs next to the ballroom and study. We have to go left, I believe. We took the corridor leading from the left-hand side of the terrace, eventually arriving at an intersection with some stairs. The path to the right led down the stairs, the path to the left with a side passage. continue straight onward. Let's go down the stairs. Before we do that, though. Kid narrowed her eyes, then crept up to him, readying the most brutal weapon she had in her possession, her right elbow. But then... Ooh. Is that a whittle bunny? As soon as she saw that, what Magill had retrieved from his pocket, Kid's eyes shone with delight and wonder, and her eyebrows jumped up like two surprised caterpillars. Yes. Well, actually, it's a kind of The bunny dance seemed to have an effect, and the curtain of light faded a little, leading me to wonder if anything was ever going to make sense again. Surge. Magill turned to face Kid and myself. Staring me solemnly in the eye, he thrust the bunny, the lesser Martian bunny Bun Bun, into my hands. I'm leaving. That is relentless. I'm leaving this in your care. You'll know when to use it. How exactly am I supposed to use it, Mag? The light ain't completely gone. You sure it's safe? Asked Kid. At some point, she'd snap out of the bunny's spell. And she was right, the magic circle seemed to be still in effect. The point, okay, the point of the curtain of light is not to keep things out, but rather to keep an even more dangerous light in. It would be risky to weaken it any further. A dangerous light? Then what are we doing hanging around right next to it? Fear not, the toy we found has the ability to nullify its effects. That's why it's essential for handling the frozen flame. I had no idea what he was talking about. Anyway, we passed safely through the barrier of light and eventually arrived at a large door, which we opened. Okay, is that Lynx? Something felt off. Fine, even more off. We had found ourselves in a very strange place indeed. It wasn't that it was bad or wrong, it was just, like I say, strange. Stranger than anything I'd ever felt before. It felt like going to a shop in a foreign country and buying a pack of 12 crayons, only to find that it had too many purple ones and not any blue ones. Something like that. I don't know that I've had that experience. I've certainly bought things at foreign locations that, the things that they carry don't seem to complete a set, if that means anything to you. So you finally arrived, you flea-bitten monkeys. A shape towered over us to the left, like the figurehead of a boat made hideous with bits of metal and throbbing veins. It was Lord Lynx, and with a giant crystal that gave off a pulsing red. So this was the Lord Lynx. Finally showed your ugly mug, huh? Kept us waiting long enough. He glared at him with a beastly sneer. I'll make you pay for everything you've done, she shouted, then she ran straight for him. Or maybe she ran then shouted, I don't know. Anyway, she charged at Lynx like a rubber band fired from a finger gun. Ah, kid! Like a film reel playing backwards, she was thrown away from Lynx as forcefully as she clung towards him. I rushed over and helped her back to her feet. Foolish primitive apes, this room is filled with devices designed solely for the purpose of protecting me. Devices so sophisticated your tiny brains could barely comprehend them. You'll never lay a finger on me, even if you spend the rest of your pathetic lives trying. Clearly pleased with his little speech, Lynx broke into a cackle. But much as it pained me to admit it, he was right. We weren't getting anywhere near him. Ha 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 ha, you are unusually quiet, street rat. So he just became Jafar. What's the matter? Lost your nerve? I'd been desperately racking my brains for some kind of cool comeback, but he was clearly on a villainous roll. Not for long though, his face twisted with horror as he looked up toward the warped lines of the ceiling. Bzz, ding, clang, 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 meow, meow. Was that a guitar? Exaggerated focus lines like those drawn by a comic book artist's pen appeared in the air behind Lynx. I followed them to see an imposing figure floating in front of a stained glass window. It was Magill. He had an amp and a guitar which he was cradling to his chest as he strummed away with a look of rapt concentration. He was a picture in a double denim, his jacket dotted with studs and a pair of enormous goggles. He really had nailed the look, except for one thing. So he suddenly became a rock star, is that? The fox mask that sat at a jaunty angle on the side of his head was completely out of keeping with the rest of the outfit. Magill, what the bloody hell are you doing? Yelled Kid, who seemed to be on the verge of losing her mind. Oh, some water's good. Always drink your water, kids. It's the element which brings life. He didn't seem much affected, though, and kept on playing his guitar. Then the transformation happened. Ah! Stop it! Make it stop! Screeched Lynx, clutching his head. rubbish, you useless bloody sook. Go. It's there. She could see right through me. Well, I can't do everything right. I mean, I've got a role I have to stick with. And, I have to do all the narration too. Okay. Excuse me. Suddenly, I was cut off by a dramatic sound effect. While Kid and I were busy bickering, Lynx had completely transformed. Wow. He's an octopus of some sort? He looked like an enormous cartoon octopus. So we meet at last. Martian Mega Mage. Come quietly, or I'll have to use force. So saying, Maggie leapt nimbly down the stained glass window with a heroic flourish. Sorry, kid. Lynx here, rabbit is mine. I've been chasing this H-class intergalactic felon for 500 years now. So now Maggie is an intergalactic cop, I guess. And also an eternal. 500 years? What the hell are you on about? Sorry, I've had to like this for the longest time, but my real name is Lemmy Bar Star Spangle. I'm with the Space Police. I'm here to serve and protect the power of rock and roll. So I'm a rock and roll space cop. Okay. Punctate is big reveal. Maggie. It'll be shorter if I use it. Adopted a theatrical pose before frantically changing into a snazzy metallic suit. They clearly call it Spangled Star for a reason. Sorry, Star Spangled. Silhouetted by the moonlight, his lank hairs glisten impressively, and the gloom as he frantically struggled to hold on his flag. There, I'm ready for action. Having finally finished his mid-act costume change, in on Octolix. And there's our new Magil, wearing a Crimson Mask Rider sort of outfit. In case you were wondering what Lynx was doing this whole time, he was biding his time in a sportsman-like manner, proudly rattling off a list of his latest crime and evil deeds. He was an evil alien mastermind. Remember, he had certain rules to stick to, never attacking the hero while they exchange blows, I guess. Whammy bar Star Spangle, I knew this day would come. It's your fault that I had to flee Mars and crash land in this primitive backwater. You don't realize what I had to do to survive. I ate my ship's seats and luggage. I even sliced up the entire driver's seat floor mat and boiled it. And here I was, having to struggle for so many years to finally be able to repair my ship's fusion reactor and get it ready to fly again, only for you to show up on the same damn day. Lynx thrust out an arm to point at the frozen flame behind him, or a tentacle. I don't know that much about octopuses, really. Maybe that's octopi. I knew it. This so-called frozen flame is in fact an Acme Marseille's crystal fusion reactor. Well, I hate to break it to you, but hard work comes off. I'm gonna smash that reactor to smithereens. A flash of light glinted impressively across Magnum's mask, followed by a really cool blue pulse across his armor. Fool, I am the Archmage of the Martian Empire. Do you really think that engine repairs are all that... Oh, sorry. That's, Lynx. Fool, I am the Archmage of the Martian Empire. Do you really think that the engine repairs are all that kept me occupied this past 500 years? Lynx produced a gun-like device which he had immediately stowed away, then turned it on himself and fired a psychedelic ray of light. Somewhere, I heard the sound of grinding gears, and then he suddenly ballooned to an enormous size. Had he been Measured on the international displacement scale of megaships, he would easily have exceeded 10,000 tons. So all of a sudden, he became a big boy. Don't just stand there gawping, Magil. Call down the space police mothership. Oh, I see, that was Kid. Kid was way beyond the point where this stuff phased her in the slightest. She played along beautifully. There isn't one. Kid and I made the same disappointed exclamation at the same time. I have used this small character sacrifice to lead a form about it. Very meta. Does that mean we're in trouble? Big trouble. I didn't expect to have a gigantifying being handy. What's the matter, Whammy Riot? Jam Jangle? Weren't you going to smash my reactor to smithereens? The walls around us cracked and started to collapse as the giant octolings cackled and reveled in his apparent victory. Wait, wasn't the reactor going to get smashed anyway if the whole matter came out? Okay. Looks like it's do or die, Surge. I'll be the decoy while you... Magil was interrupted by a giant battle axe flying into the back of his head, batting himself at an 86-degree angle with an almighty thump. That's the worst angle possible. Nag, can you hear me? Stay with us. In a panic, I shook his body. This was bad news. He died on us. Toast. White smoke rushed from his head as he lay there stunned. It didn't look like he'd been thinking of back anytime soon. I reckon it's time we skedaddle, said the kid. She clearly wasn't messing around. Skedaddle? Carry Magil? Nah, leave him. He would have wanted us to get away safe instead of suffering a horrible death together, probably. Kid sure could be a savage at times. No, you won't make it. Oh, sorry, that was Magil. You won't make it. The metallic fingers of Magil's spangled gauntlet grabbed my ankle from behind. Let's not get into details about why I was already facing away from him. Of course, ever the brave one. Use it. The replica of the lesser Martian. Bunny. Bun. Alright, the MacGuffin. How could I have forgotten about that strange bunny that he'd conveniently and quite conspicuously given to me earlier in a completely predictable development? Chekhov's gun. The question was, what the hell was I supposed to do with it? Surge, please, use it to protect Kid. Crap, he's about to die. My eyebrows fixed in a rueful arch. I turned to face Lynx. Surge, he's our man. If he can't do it, no one can. Go, Surge, I imagined Kid shouting. In reality, she was popping her head cautiously around the corner and giving me her full support by watching nervously to see what would happen. Hey, Lynx, get a load of this. In what I thought would be my final desperate act, I pulled the bunny from my pocket. But by doing so, I had caused a change I could never have foreseen. You sneaky little, where did you find that wobbly little bunny? You're not planning to make it do the little dance that makes a fusion reactor explode, are you? True to form, Lynx gave everything away. Anyway, I figured it was worth a shot, so I made the bunny do a little dance. No, my precious ship. get you next time, Star Spangle. A collection of tiny flying saucers zipped upward from the manor's ruins as Link escaped, delivering that most classic of lines. Kid and I watched the scene unfold as we supported Maggie by both shoulders. Well, all's well that ends well. Even Link's got a happy ending. Defeat. I would never have expected he'd have a fleet of emergency getaway ships. He's covered all the basics of being a regularly occurring villain. Through the transparent underbelly of his flying saucer, I could see Link's and his goblins furiously pedaling away on what looked like a tandem bicycle. They probably weren't generating enough power to make it to another planet. Well, boys, looks like our little Link's hunt will be back home from tomorrow, said Kid pensively. And at the same time, she seemed kind of glad. And so was I, because our adventures were only just beginning. And of course, here we wrap up another story. Let's go quickly through this because I do need to take a quick break. And we'll be right back as the credits roll. And so another tale ends another tale. Perhaps one day I'll see Kid, Maggie, and the Martians again. One day, somewhere, at another time, in another world. Perhaps none of us will even realize it. But that's a story for another day. For now, I must put down my pen. And here, Mom calls. Of course, it's Kid. I'd read this, but again, the voice needs a break for at least 5 minutes. So another ending collected. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. I'll be back in about 5 or 6 minutes. So yes, stay tuned for the Ales and Fails Twitch stream. Okay, so we are back. In terms of what I thought about this particular ending route, I'm going to say that I think it had its fun moments. There was a lot of like wall breaking points, and I think it pretended to be funny. Uh, I guess the one thing that I'm starting to notice from these endings is the fact that there is some slight buildup as you're exploring the manor that takes some shape and builds towards that grand conclusion. But then once you're locked into that ending route, it seems like you get all this like lore exposition and like this and that and details of like how was actually the grand scheme of everything all along. And it just seems very uh, and heavy, if that means anything. I appreciate the way in which how imaginative it is, and how creative the whole thing is, and how it plays with the idea of like, hey, this is not really the right setting for this sort of thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess if you're just finding this on your own, it is a very clever and funny ending. But otherwise, it's kind of like heavy, kind of heavy. Okay, so that's three endings down, even though we kind of reached that fourth one at some point before. Okay, so the Great Space Chase complete. Space Chase get. I don't know that we're gonna reach one more ending. I think we've got about 15-20 minutes tops. So let's get started with Homecoming Felicia's Light. And still playing Radical Dreamers and still enjoying our hazy double IPA retreat. Okay, so let's continue. Surge is still our name. In order to activate this particular ending, we need to fall asleep and pay Kid no mind when looking out the window. The old lady's tip-off was right on the money. The counterspell on the barrier around the outer walls could have done a real number on us. Kid's plain unadorned braid flicked back and forth across her shoulders as she walked. The hypnosis of the hair. We picked our way through the elaborate lattice of the manor's magic shields, moving in closer and closer to Lord Link's stronghold. There were three of us, Kid, Magill, and me. Churro. I watched as Kid's braid flick back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I started feeling very sleepy indeed. And before I knew it, I was asleep. Surge! Oi, Surge! I'm talking to you! My head jerked upward as I snapped back to consciousness. Idiot that I was, I'd managed to drift off. As I came back to my senses, I looked up to see the hulking shadow of Lynx's manor looming over us. Wakey, wakey, sleepyhead, we've got work to do. Her words had hardly reached me before she jumped onto the terrace and disappeared from within. Ugh! Wait up, Kid! Flustered, I rushed after her. So I thought I was supposed to look out the window. Pay Kid no mind and look out the window. Oh, I think I made the wrong choice there. I guess we're going down the next one instead then. The mystery mega weapon. So that one is after falling asleep, rush after Kid and Magill, then proceed to the treasure vault. Okay. Oh, this one's gonna be a long one, so we're definitely not gonna finish it, but let's see how far we get. A corridor stretched off to the left and right from the terrace. It seemed equally dark and chilly in both directions. Let's pull up that map again. It seemed equally dark and chilly in both directions. Alright, where's our way in? Kit's casual comment settled our nerves. Magel quietly surveyed our surroundings. Meanwhile, I found myself distracted by how cold the sweat on my forehead felt. It was only when I reached to wipe the sweat from my brow and turned my head slightly that I happened to see it. Well, actually, maybe we didn't skip that option. There it is. I'm gonna pay Kid no mind and look out the window. A soft glimmer of light. At least I thought that was what I saw. A gentle glow coming from a decorative window close to the ceiling. But as much as I strained my eyes to try and catch it again, I couldn't. Oi, Serge, you'd better not be sleeping on the job. We'll leave you for the guards to find. Kid and Magel were already far down the passageway. How long had I been standing there? Okay, and I'm going to pay her no mind and look again at the window. There was a light. It was faint, vague like a shrouded star. No, this was no light. It was visible in the darkness, but that was more of a side effect. Whoa. It was crying out to me through the shadow of night, crying out to be seen, to be noticed. There, draped in a set of ancient robes, floated the figure of a young girl. You come, at long last. It was a tremulous voice, filled with sorrow. I'm still not sure if I really heard it, or if it was somehow echoing in my mind. But one thing was certain, it wasn't a dream, nor was it an illusion. There was no doubt about what I heard next. It was Kid and Magel making themselves apprehensive noises as they appeared at my side. What the heck was that? It took a few moments, but Kid had soon just about regained her composure. Thaumaturgy, diablerie, necromancy. With enough experience in these practices, eventually one can see the dead. And while it's not exactly something to be proud of, having taken on some very odd jobs indeed, we've witnessed things that no ordinary person would ever see. And more than a few that no one should ever see, courtesy of Magel's dark arts. Even so, for a moment, the three of us were stunned. If I had to say why, perhaps it was because the seemingly bottomless sorrow of the girl's sigh, the sense of torment, even, struck a chord with all of us. Nothing will ever come of lingering here. Something told me that Magel was right. We should leave. It wasn't until later that I realized the ashen tone of Kid's face had taken on what wasn't just because of the moonlight. Strange. Okay, so now we're at the terrace again. It seems that in order to fulfill this ending, we have to go to the ballroom. And the ballroom is all the way to the left. We decided to go left down the corridor. We took the corridor leading from the left-handed side of the terrace, eventually arriving at an intersection with some stairs. The path to the right led down the stairs. The path to the left was a dark side passage, and the main corridor continued straight onward. So let's go forward. We continued onward past where the stairs and the side passage emerged in the main corridor. We found ourselves in front of some ornate double doors. And let me go save right here. And go save here. Nice, 3 endings. Creak was the noise I expected the doors to make. Instead, they simply swung open silently, as if completely weightless. We found ourselves in a huge chamber, 2 stories high. It was like a cathedral right down to the enormous pipe organ built into the back wall. The flickering light of countless candles seemingly engaged in a losing battle with the shadows their own flames created gave the room an almost tenuous quality, as if it were only half there. Looks like a church of some kind, but there's something strange about it. It's the shape. Most churches are cross-shaped. It wasn't like Nagel to comment like that unprompted. Something about the place was bothering him, and not in the same way that it was bothering Kit and me. The layout of this chamber is unusual indeed, and deliberately so, as if whoever built it intended to avoid any suggestion that they might be honoring the gods, or perhaps they were honoring other gods. Nagel pondered away to himself like this, as he began to examine the room around him. And we're supposed to have Magil investigate? If Magil had noticed something, it was something worth investigating. I walked over to the pipe organ that had caught my attention earlier. How odd. There was an extra key on the keyboard. I did a double take, unsure that my eyes weren't deceiving me, but sure enough there was one black key too many. Search must be a musician. Neither Kid nor Magil had taken the time to note this little detail yet. My trained eye picked it out right away. I cracked my knuckles and try pressing 2 white keys. I'm gonna try and press the extra key. Of course. Oh, wait a second. Choose to press the 2 white keys on either side of the extra key. The lid of the keyboard suddenly slammed shut. Ow! I've been prepared for something to happen, but not prepared enough to avoid getting the tips of my fingers caught. I better be able to retry that. I took a moment to compose myself and then lifted the lid for another try. I cracked my knuckles and pressed the 2 white keys on either side of the extra key. The moment I pressed the keys, a section of the floor next to the organ sank into the ground. A set of stairs led down into the darkness. Hey, yeah, we noticed. Kid and Magil were already standing right beside me. The space under the hall was vast as well. Magil conjured up a small light. It wasn't quite bright enough for us to see all the way to the edges, but it was enough to show us that the room beneath was about the same size as the chamber above and lined with the same columns. In fact, it seemed a lot like this might have been the floor level of an even more vast original chamber. The ceiling, that is to say the floor of the hall above, appeared to have been built much more recently than the rest of the room. It was as if someone had rushed to put a lid on something that had happened here. Something they didn't want others to find. Over there. Magil was pointing at something. It was some kind of hazy cloud. No, that wasn't quite it. What I had thought was a cloud Oh no, the blood sigil again. Is that one of the magic circle thingamajigs? Kid growled suspiciously. Doesn't look like it's been used for yonks. What do you reckon, Mag? It is difficult to know for certain. It would seem so, but it would take some time to investigate enough to know for sure. It certainly seems to be ancient. Well, it ain't going nowhere. Guess we can come back and have a proper look later. We've got the rest of the manor to explore yet. Magil grunted in agreement, but seemed a little disappointed at having to leave his find behind. Nonetheless, he seemed as keen as the rest of us to avoid getting stuck down here for too long. We returned to the main hall upstairs and exited back into the corridor. We left the hall and returned to the corridor. Eventually, it led to an intersection. There were some stairs going down and to the right, a dark side passage. If we kept going straight, we'd arrive back at the terrace. And I think we'll go ahead and save here. And actually, we're gonna go ahead and end it right here. Okay, so that was Radical Dreamers. We were able to reach two endings. I apologize at the beginning for uh, being unable to pick up where I last left off. I guess for these remasters, even though they're retro games, I can't actually use suspend points as I'd like to. But that's okay. At least we can retread some old ground and maybe think about it a little bit more. As I'm seeing the list of endings moving forward, they're going to get a little more complex. So I'm excited to see what the stories of those chapters are like. Thus far, I feel like the endings have largely revolved around Magus being kind of a completely different person, and somebody who we didn't think he was, which again makes me believe that these are not really true canon endings. They're more like stories that get handed down. I also have a lot to think of in terms of like Serge is reading his grandfather's book, but isn't that Serge himself, or did Serge's grandfather just happen to call himself Serge, and his grandson is also called Serge, and he happens to have a friend called Kid? It's a little bit weird to think about. I definitely like this book ending theme where we're actually reading a story from a diary, though. It's pleasant. It makes you think a lot about past generations and how they view the world, and trying to explore things from the past from their eyes. Anyways, that's enough of that. Thank you for joining me at the Ales and Fails Twitch stream. Hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you took something away from that. I'm glad that my voice was able to struggle through most of that. I think we'll pick this up again in another 2 weeks. Hopefully I'm completely healed by that. But if you like this sort of thing, if you like my banter, come hang out again tonight. I'll be playing Hades closer to 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. There's sure a lot to be discussed then. We'll have some more beers, some more cheers, a lot of cheers, of course. But yeah, and yeah, with all that being said, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. If you're not into this sort of thing, I'm glad that I caught your attention for just these few seconds. Stay thirsty, Wolfkin. Or rather, stay thirsty, Elpack. That's better. We'll see you again.